me and very passionate responses this morning. Let me start off with the 1 trillion economy, and then I'll come to the turning the corner.
That's right.
Uncle Ken was saying, look, these numbers for me is just grandstanding. 1 trillion is a meaningless metric. It doesn't mean anything, right? And especially when you've got inflation that is still in excess of 30 or so percent. 1 trillion cedis, if you convert it into USD, is just about 83 billion. The current economy is worth about 79 or so billion. So if you do the adjustment going forward with all of the growth rates, you are going to get there anyway. So whether or not you're going to get 1 trillion economy or not, it's practically meaningless in the grand scheme of things. What rather the finance minister should be talking about is other better indicators of where we are coming from and where we're going. So things like your gross national income or per capita or other growth rate that better reflect the macroeconomic situation of the country and better reflect our lived economic prosperity. Because at the end of the day, it's about the man on the street, like you were saying, the waakye seller or the cocoa seller, and those people are the ones that this budget is got to work for. So when we throw figures like that about, I get worried because at the end of the day, again, it's more of political grandstanding and it doesn't really add anything as much to our economic debate. Now, the question...
If we do get to this 1 trillion, and I'm being reminded by guys like Ofori-Atta that this is mediocrity and we shouldn't even be celebrating it. He says this is a joke. Apple, Amazon, and several companies are worth 1 trillion. What's there to celebrate when one company in the US is worth more than 11 times the economy of Ghana? This political economic analysis is embarrassing. Let's stop it. So my question is, supposing we get there, and it is historic, it will be historic, as the finance minister says, and this would have been achieved and to the credit of President Akufo-Addo. Wouldn't that mean that yesterday my waakye that I sent my clerk to buy, the same amount I buy all the time, and after taking it, I wasn't too sure if he had bought, a quarter less than what I had paid for? Wouldn't that reflect? Will my kenke not be 1 cedi anymore? Won't it get back there? Will the bread not get back to when I used to buy, I could buy 1 cedi bread?
No, it won't. And this is really the crux of the argument that myself and others have been making, that there's a distinction between the GDP numbers and things like inflation, cost of living, and all those things. Of course, there's some relationship between them, or one sort of, you may say, causes the other. But at the end of the day, GDP is practically a meaningless metric. It's really about your lived experience. And that's why I think that sometimes even our market women and the people on the streets, understand economics even better than some of our people that have, been to school. Because, you've got to translate these metrics into economic prosperity, into lived experiences, into bringing down your exchange rate, into getting a lower cost of borrowing, such that if I go to the bank or the market woman goes to the bank, they'll be able to get credit and be able to expand their business. And when that expansion happens, then of course you begin to see that reflect in the GDP. Even that 1 trillion, ask yourself, what proportion of the Ghanaian economy is even controlled and owned by Ghanaians? So even if we did 10 trillion for argument's sake, or 100 trillion for argument's sake, and you still have all these big capital flight, money moving out and all of that, we will still be celebrating numbers that don't mean anything whatsoever to the ordinary Ghanaian on the street. And I think it's important that we are able to situate these things in the right context rather than
All
just throwing numbers about
Thank you.
that.
Thank you very much. So I'm going around. I'm going around the table quickly, and we'll return to deal with to have Ken, because we have to. Ken has to leave us as quickly as possible. You wanted to say something important, please. Let's hear.
Yeah, I was going to just give a quick summary on the budget.
Please go ahead. Go ahead.
Positives and some negatives. So the first positive on the budget is that, of course, we have begun to see some of the gains from the IMF program and the debt restructuring being reflected in some of the numbers. So you look at the fiscal balances and the numbers that were provided from January to August, and you can see that the revenue numbers came down a little bit by about 3 billion, but at the same time, we've made about 17 billion of expenditure savings in that regard. And then there's also things like the new taxes that are coming in, things like supporting the local manufacturing of electric vehicles and things, related matters that are all positive, including the Akosombo Dam spillage money. But there are issues also as well. And I think one of the core things for me really is this structural transformation argument. In fact, when you look at the numbers, right, between 2013 to 2022, and if you work it out, 2013 to 2016, agriculture has actually declined by 2 percentage points of GDP relative to the number from 2017 to 2022. Industry has gone down by also another 2.1 percentage point of GDP, and then services has gone up by about 4%. So you begin to ask yourself, the government says that we've done all these interventions, planting for food and jobs, one district, one factory, and a host of other initiatives. How come that relative to the numbers from 2012, 2013, 14, 15, if you work out the averages, we are still seeing a decline in agriculture, and we're still seeing a decline in industry. So again, it tells you that there are issues with cost of doing business. The taxes are killing businesses. People are struggling. And here we are talking about a phantom 1 trillion Ghana cedi economy that is not being reflected in terms of the people's pocket or even in terms of doing business in the country.